Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host, River Lee, and I want to welcome you guys to this week's episode where we're going to talk all about how is your work-life balance. Now, it's really interesting how this has really been everyone's talking about it in the Facebook groups. And as always, I like to talk about things that everyone else is talking about so I can give you my impression and my spin on it. Now, if you are, subscribed on YouTube, fantastic. If you're not, why haven't you already? And if you don't know who I am, my name is River Lee and I'm the founder of the Savvy Groomer, where I teach pet professionals how to find their profit and their passion all over again, right? So let's go ahead and dive right into this. So first things first, let's talk about what work-life balance is and what it is not. Work-life balance is not crashing and burning and taking a week off. That is not work-life balance. And my cat may be crazy. You can see he's got his toy back there. It's funny because some people love when he's on here and some people hate it. I love my cat. My poodle never makes a peep. She's perfect and lovely. And the cat's crazy. What are you going to do? It happens to the best of us. So anyway, I digress. With this topic, I think the most important thing is we begin by talking about what burnout is. Burnout is when you've overdone it. When you have worked beyond your means and you need either a break, you need a refresh, you need a reframing, you might need a mental health holiday, a physical holiday, or pivot your businesses. I recently did a coffee live, we laughed and called it a river rant on my business page, and my business Facebook page rather. And it was all about millennial groomers and how people view millennial groomers as lazy. And I think that it's just that people of my generation, I'm a millennial, both of my staff members are millennials, really value work-life balance way more than our parents did, and even more so than our grandparents. My grandparents are, probably in their early 80s, and they, didn't have any work-life balance until they retired. But they also had a pension to retire to. My grandmother was a nurse and she got a pension. My grandfather was a firefighter. And so he had a pension and he has a lot in Social Security. And I think people of my age know that when we retire, there's probably not going to be any Social Security left. As is, there's really not a lot to go around, and I don't want to get into the politics of that. All I want to talk about is I think that those things contribute to millennials being lazy. And by my definition, it's not that we're lazy. It's just we want to retire early. We want to make the most money as fast as we can and then relax, which is our hustle culture. Alternatively, you have cottage culture, which is all about being slow and deliberate, knitting, baking bread, taking long walks in the woods and really being connected to nature and being, at a much slower pace. And I do think that a lot of older generations really hit that hustle culture because they knew there was something at the end of the rainbow. And I think my generation acknowledges that there's probably nothing at the end of the rainbow. There is no pension for us. If we're going to put a 401k, we have to make enough money to put it in a 401k. And let's be very fair here. With the advent of the cell phone, which is a $1,000 computer we keep in our pocket that we've got to replace every 3 years and pay $100 a month for the pleasure of using. Our car payments are very expensive. Our rent's really high. I think all those things contribute to it. So moving into our work-life balance, I think it's really important for us to consider the fact that, what to you is pleasant? Like what to you is life? So for some of us, that is spending time with our children, our human kids. For some of us, it's spending time with our fur kids. I don't love fur babies. I don't mind fur kids though. I generally say my 2-legged and my 4-legged kids. What is it that inspires you to do that? Now, there's many reasons that you're feeling burnt out and you don't have that work-life balance. For many of us, it's working long hours, grooming as many dogs as we can, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know, if we're going to have those people come back in 4 weeks or some other shop going to open up and they're going to go to them. Can we get these people in when they call? And if we don't, are they going to leave us and go to Petco? That feast or famine really creates that stress and that survival mentality. And I don't think it's any of our faults. I think that we've just been programmed to think that is how it's supposed to be, right? And that really is kind of how the markets have always worked. And I think a lot of people are rejecting that because they're like, this is just insanity. Either I'm grooming 10 dogs a day, or if it rains, I might only groom 2 or 3 dogs a day. And that's exhausting, not knowing that and losing that money. Another reason would be we're not charging enough. So many groomers are not keeping up with inflation. This year alone, we've inflated at least 4%. Everything is going up. Everything is shortage. The best example of inflation that I found was somebody had posted about chicken wings. And I remember chicken wings. I don't eat chicken wings. It's not my thing. I find that they're a lot of work for not a lot of meat. And I'm lazy. It's like same thing with lobster. I love lobster, but it's just too much work. And crab. I'm like, it's just too much work for me. I'm openly lazy. Give me a steak. Give me a hamburger. I'm good with that. Or oysters. But anyway, I digress. And I'm not opening the oyster. They'll open it for me. But chicken wings, I've always remembered them as 10 cents, 25 cents. On the high end, 50 cents a wing. Well, a lot of places, they're now $1 a wing, or they've completely taken them off the menu. That's incredible when something has literally doubled in price. And it's due to shortages. And if you guys have tried to order shampoo recently or clippers, I have been trying to order a corded KM10 for many, many months now. And they're having shortages. There's issues around it. There's lots of shortages. And there's also a shortage of groomers. I need to figure out where I had read that because I will never forget. It said in 5 years, we need about 50,000 groomers. And if anyone finds that, I know it was in a groomer-based magazine. I have to find it. I will never forget those numbers because it just completely shocked me. But to keep up with the demand of the amount of dogs that have been bred and people adopting, and I know if you know anybody, everyone knows people with dogs, obviously. Even the cat groomers know people with dogs. People have gotten, in my building alone, we have 115 apartments. I want to say we've added 30 or 40 dogs in this building. And that's with people moving down south. There's been people leaving, and then there's been dogs and other people moving in. Most people have 2 dogs in my building. They got a second puppy, or they adopted a new dog. It's crazy. And those dogs are going to need groomers. Now, obviously, people can groom their own dogs if they choose to, but as an industry, we're going to need more people. So you might be like, okay, well, what does that have to do? So I'm sorry. So Groomer to Groomer said rate of people buying puppies, it would need to be short 65,000 groomers nationwide by 2050. And that was pre-COVID. Yeah. Thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate that. That's insane. That makes sense before COVID. So maybe that was another, I don't know if they updated, but I remember it was, Although I am dyslexic, so I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But that's insane, guys. 65,000 groomers. And that was before COVID. That's nuts. I just need a minute to process that. And you know me, I'm not much of a processor, but it's just a lot of people we need. I'll never forget that. That's crazy. But moving forward, that means that we're always going to have more pets to groom than groomers to do it. So you have to start creating healthier boundaries, and you have to start creating your work-life balance, because it's only going to get more intense. Even if everyone ends up going solopreneur, which may happen, guys, lots of groomers are leaving shops and opening up their own business because they want that work-life balance. And if you're an employee and you want work-life balance, you're probably not going to get it owning your own shop, unless if your boss is a jerk, which can happen in the grooming industry. But I want you to remember that it's one of those situations where you've got to start creating more money to do less dogs, to have more time off. If I am grooming 10 dogs in 8 hours and I'm burning myself out, because that's a power groomer, guys. It's less than an hour a dog. It's about 45 minutes a dog. That's a lot. That's really fast. And that is checking in, checking out. People want more of a connection. When they are checking in, they want to feel like you know, like, and trust them, that you care for their dog. Gone are the days of same thing as last time. Yeah, okay, bye. People don't want that anymore. And if they do want that, they'll go to Petco. And honestly, I say let them. Erin is saying it was talking about the rate of people who are retiring, leaving the industry, were not being replaced fast enough. So guys, that number that Erin just sent was before COVID and before how many people were retiring and not having people being replaced. And I absolutely agree with that. And I also want to point out that if we talk about, I hate to say older groomers, so let's call them veteran groomers. I like that better. If you talk about veteran groomers, most of them came from the generation of doing 10 dogs a day in 8 hours. And that means that they were grooming guys. If they're working 5 days a week, they're grooming 50 dogs a week, or 200 dogs a month. Now, I find most millennials, or most people that want more work-life balance, want to groom about 100 dogs a month, which is 5 dogs a day, 5 days a week, or, 6 dogs a day, 4 days a week. And I think that's the work-life balance that a lot of us are choosing. Because if I personally, now I've been grooming more than 10, less than 15. Not trying to age myself too bad, although I do look kind of young. It's one of those situations where if I groomed 10 dogs a day, even with the best bathing system, even with the best scissors, everything the best, I would still be exhausted. And then when I go home to my son, I have nothing left. I have nothing left for dating, and I have nothing left for him. Now, again, I do think this is a generational thing. My grandparents have been married for over 60 years. And when my mom was little, she would walk herself to kindergarten. So my grandparents didn't have the same parenting responsibilities, nor did they ever have a situation where they were a single mom. Now, my mom was a single mom, but she left before we got out of bed. We would get ourselves up, and I would get my sister ready for school, and I would take her to school. I would take my sister to the bus stop. When we got home, I would make sure my sister got her homework done. And now, mind you, my brother was older, but my brother wasn't expected to do any of these things. I don't know why. I think it's just in a very girl powerment thing. And they were kind of like, no, like, girl power, you can do everything. You don't need a man. Meanwhile, the boys were like, cool, you go do all the work. We're going to go play video games. Peace. But yeah, we would be there for a few hours before my mom would get home. We would, reheat some food, probably watch some TV, do some homework for hours. And my son, I can't let him off the bus without being at the bus stop. Like, I remember, not recently, but before COVID, and he was like 7. So it wasn't like he was a peanut. But literally, I was walking to the bus stop. I was 3 houses down. 3 houses. They would not let him off the bus. They made me walk they held up traffic while I walked the 3 houses to let him off the bus. It's totally different. And dating is exhausting because in my 30s trying to meet somebody who doesn't just want a hot pocket relationship. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy to date. It takes a lot of time. I don't have friends who have friends that can set me up. And the dating pool is so big that people have so many choices. I feel like it's really hard for them to find love. So being a single mom, doing all these things, having way more expectations. Like, I remember my mom in her 30s and the pressures to be pretty. Now, I like being pretty, and I'm pretty because I want to be pretty. And I'm okay admitting I'm pretty. I like the way I look. I work really hard at that, and I spend good money. You know, my mom was a beautiful woman, but, you know, it didn't matter if she wore mom jeans. I mean, my mother dressed the same as my grandmother, who was 25 years older than she was. You know, it wasn't anything weird. And now the moms at the school I see take way more care of their bodies or take way more care of their looks. And that costs money. You know, it takes time. So it's just so interesting, the different pressures. And that makes it harder to have work-life balance. And even the people that are married, you know, it's just very different. There's different things. We're always busy. We're always doing things. So a lot of groomers decide not to be involved in a lot of things, like they don't do fun things with their family. If you have to work Saturdays, now this is where I thought I wanted Saturdays and Sundays off, because all the events were on Saturdays. Weddings and barbecues and all these things are on Saturdays. I mean, my generation definitely does way more get-togethers than my parents' generations. And if they did do a barbecue at my mom's house, it goes from, you know, anywhere from like, it used to be like show up between 10 and like midnight, whenever you get free. It was like an all-day event. But now it's almost like curated and it's more pomp and circumstance. You know, but I mean, my parents were basically like, we've got beer, bring your own food, we'll be here. And so it's just different. Erin's saying that's why I look like a troll 90% of the time. She does not. She looks very lovely. I will say she's this gorgeous red curly hair. And it's, you know, one of those things, not red, curly hair. But it's one of those things that, you know, that's just it though. But it's weird, isn't it? Like my mom, like literally looked like a granny in her late 20s. Like I remember having those memories, and I remember looking and being like, you know, like one of those things that, like my mom was younger than I am, and she looked like old in the sense of the way she was dressing. Like my mom, if she dressed today the way she did back then, she would consider herself a troll, or she would feel bad about herself, although my mom was never that way. But it's just different pressures. But anyway, back to work-life balance, right? So with that, why does that matter? Well, it matters because when you're looking at your pricing, if you're an employer hiring people, you're not, and especially if you're a veteran groomer hiring someone, you're trying to replace somebody. If you're a power groomer, a veteran power groomer, grooming 10 to 13 dogs a day, now you're getting tired in your 50s. You're not going to find a millennial willing to do 10 or 13 dogs a day. And it's not because they're lazy. It's because they care about their body and they want work-life balance. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the life choice you made, but my generation saw your generation physically and emotionally and mentally suffer, right? Why would we want that? That sucks. We watched you. We don't want that for us. You know, and so you are not going to probably hire a power groomer, because even if you are a power groomer, you're probably going to go work for yourself. Right? So what's the alternative? Is to hire a lazy millennial, right, who's only going to groom 5 to 8 dogs a day. So then, okay, if that's the case, why is that bad? Why wouldn't you want employees who choose work-life balance over doing as many dogs as physically possible? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you don't want to increase your prices. Because you have unintentionally, artificially kept the industry low. And I don't blame you for this, because it's really hard to tell people you deal with all the time, you have to go up. A good way to look at it, and I'm going to do my math right here. because the software that I use in order to, use this to go live is not the best. So let's say you were charging $20 a dog, a Shih Tzu, in 1980, right? So a 4% increase would be only 80 cents, right? Well, if you keep doing that over time, and I could probably, let me just Google 4% increase over 20. I'm doing my math because I'm thinking 80s, that wasn't long ago. 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. Guys, the 80s was 40 years ago. Isn't that nuts? Every time I think about that, it's just like, here we go. Best inflation calculator from 2021. So if we had $20, and we've done this before, in 1980, just to keep up with inflation, it would be about $65. So an average inflation rate, guys, of 2.94% means that we have cumulatively inflated 225%. Think about that. In 40 years, prices have gone up 225%. I don't know many grooming salons owned by a groomer who's been grooming 30, 40 years that has increased their prices by 200%. Now, a lot of us, when we started, so I was charging $55, let's say in 2010. No, 2011 technically. So right now, if I charge $55, that means my cumulative inflation rate has gone up 19%. As of last year, technically this year, 2021, right? So if I owned a grooming salon, which I did, in 2011, in 10 years, Jesus Christ, that was just every time I talk dates, I'm like, no problem. Then I'm like, oh my God, that's so long ago. 10 years ago, just to keep up with inflation, I would have had to gone up $66. And guys, that's just inflation. That's not including being 10 years better a groomer, having a better clientele. Everything I buy is going up with that same inflation, right? So if I had I use Light Pooch, so the same thing. The gallons go up. So here's the thing is that sometimes we say, okay, well, we'll just go up $5 a year, right? That's what we'll do. We'll just do a nice round $5 a year. Again, that would be $20 in 4 years. You're like, that should be enough, right? Well, it depends. Depends on a lot of things, guys. Depends on so much. What services are you offering? Is that more in demand? Has minimum wage gone up? Because let's also look up really quickly minimum wage. What was minimum wage in 1980? So just to keep up with inflation, a $20 Shih Tzu should now be about $65. And if you guys are doing Shih Tzus for less than $65, that's insane. You're way below that. So just to put in perspective, that $20 Shih Tzu, minimum wage was $3.10. Now, in 2011, let's do federal. I know, because now it's like, wait a minute. Google's like, I don't know about this. Let me look up federal. I know it pulls up my state. So interesting. Federal minimum wage is basically the same. It's at $7.25 in 2011. So it's very interesting when you look at all this. And obviously, no one can live on $7.25. I know there are some rural areas that can, but 90% of us in the United States cannot live on that kind of money. So, and this is what's interesting. In 2011, that was the federal minimum wage. What is it in 2021? Is it the same? I always get confused because I think about my state. Yeah, non-exempt employees is still the same. That's very fascinating. So that's very interesting. That's federal. Brianna said, I wish I found you and your knowledge before I opened my salon 2 years ago in my home. Absolutely. You know, I wish I found me and all this information before I opened up my first business, because I had to learn everything the hard way. And what's nice is I have all this awesome information for you guys to share. And Brianna, there's always an opportunity to change things. I have so many coaching clients, guys, who have changed their lives, have reinvented themselves. You know, we have a price increase class going on right now, and actually we've opened up our pre-sale, our early bird sale with our bonuses for our next price increase class, which starts our master class, which is 6 weeks class, teaching you all about pricing. And if you need to increase that pricing, which most of us do, how to actually go about that. Our pre-sale is going on. It'll launch August 1st, which I'm really excited about. So if you guys are interested in that, please sign up. You can go to savvygroomer.com/price increase. Yeah, I know, Brianna. You're going to have this opportunity. Brianna's actually in the class already. And Quincy and I were actually talking good things about you. And we were talking about how a lot of these things with the price increase class will make you change your mind about how you're running your business. We've had a few people mention about their employees. And, I don't obviously want to talk about, you personally, because I don't want to, break any confidentiality or anything. But I think that being able to shift your business in the way and that allows you to build a business that you want in a positive way, I think is really beautiful. It's really empowering. And that's where you can really get your work-life balance. Because our previous generation, or 2 generations ago, if you've been grooming 30 years, you're our grandparents' age. Unless we had kids late. I had my kid early. So it's funny. My son has a great grandfather who's in his 80s. No, I see you, Christy. Listen, I have to get Quincy's permission first, because Quincy's going to be like, why'd you rat me out? And I'm like, because I have to put my foot in my mouth. Because sometimes, it's like Tiffany, I'm like, I'm not going to talk about Tiffany. Tiffany's like, yeah, talk about me. And I'm like, all right, because Tiffany, I know what I can get away with Tiffany. But I think reevaluating your business is so empowering. And this is the best time to do it, guys. It's never been a better time or a better excuse to make wild changes in your business. There are a lot of groomers who are completely changing their business model. Partly because their employees don't appreciate them. If you're an employer, your employees don't appreciate you. And if you're an employee, there's a lot of, employers who are those angry old school power groomers. When I was your age, I washed every dog with Dawn and I had to hand scissor everything. That's awesome. Good for you. That would be terrible. And I'm like, listen, my grandparents had a dirt floor for 2 years. Doesn't mean that's the lifestyle I want to live. But I want you to remember. So Brianna's saying, oh, I don't mind at all. Yes, I love that. Can't wait for a change because I am in the need for a change mood. Tiffany's saying I can get away with murder. That's not totally true. But man, if I could. No, just kidding. Christy's saying if I haven't seen Brianna's Grooms, I know. So that was part of the thing we talked about is, everyone has a superpower when they're grooming. And I'm going off a little bit on topic, but, how do I say this nicely? Girl, you gotta we gotta get you here, because we were talking about Quincy's grooms, and Quincy's grooms are great, but great in the way that Quincy has a wonderful clientele who loves her, and she's a better groomer than I am. But Brianna is here. And it's crazy where, we were looking at prices, and girl, you got to get some balls to really increase your prices. Like, I know you're like, look at this groom I did, and it's basically perfect. And your price point was better than you've ever done. But I would like to see you really go super ballsy on your prices and go like really high, because you really do have a talent, and I'm sure those grooms take a lot out of you. Yeah, they are. Yeah, Christy's saying Brianna's grooms are flawless. They are chef kisses. Absolutely. Like, they really are. And to me, if you're going to offer that level of grooming, you can offer not just top dollar, but you should be the highest priced. And that doesn't mean that if your grooms aren't perfect, that you should be able to offer top dollar. It's just a matter of what you're doing. But to me, Brianna, if you can't make a living grooming 3 perfect dogs or 4 perfect dogs, then your prices aren't high enough. Because I can't imagine, you're probably one of those crazy power groomers or something, and I don't know exactly, who can do like 5 to 10 perfect dogs a day. And you're like, oh, it's no big deal. But you could not hire someone to do what you do. So I want you to keep that in mind. So whenever you're doing this, I want you to think about like replacement cost of you. And that's the tough part. It's so hard. And that's where, like, for you, like, if you're going to create those masterpieces, those are art. I'm a technician. I'm a perfectly happy technical groomer. My job for me is grooming the dog or the cat, making them comfortable. I'm practical. I am not an artist. I don't want to be an artist. Running businesses is our artist. You'll be proud. I charge a 30-pound doodle thingy $80 today, which is 30% more than I usually charge. Yes, I'm very proud of that. But like we just said, just to keep up with inflation of a mediocre groomer, a Shih Tzu would need to be $65. If a Shih Tzu would be $65, that 30-pound doodle really should be $120 to $140. We will get you there. We will talk more about that. Coral, who I'm so happy you finally got alive. Welcome, girl. The more you discussions with clients, the easier it gets. Then it's just insulting when clients try to haggle with you and you have no problem cutting them loose. I will say I have no problem when someone asks me for a discount or this or that. Believe it or not, guys, it happens a lot with coaching. Because I charge a lot for my coaching, and I'm perfectly happy to, because one-on-one coaching is incredibly exhausting. Going live and doing group things is tiring, but it's also really energizing, where having to have the light bulb moment with one person is exhausting. Because like even here, like Brianna, girl, she's like, you're damn right. I'm like, absolutely. She's charging $80 for a 30-pound doodle thing, when just to keep up with a mediocre groomer, inflation-wise, should be $60. Her Shih Tzu should be $80 to $100 bare minimum. And that's if she's doing a lot of dogs a day and has a bather, where she's doing one-on-one, which I'm not sure if she's doing every dog start to finish, right? Start to finish and all of that. And Christy's saying, yeah, but charging $30 is more awesome still. See, this is why groups are less exhausting. Because when you have one person, you have to, unfortunately, because like they're like, what? I'm doing so good. You're like, yes, girl, you are. And I'm not. Listen, one thing, if you guys don't know this about me, I'm a very empathetic person, but I'm not a sympathetic person. I'm your coach. Your coach, you guys, if you guys ever had like a soccer coach or a track coach, or even if you, God forbid, you did cheerleading or dance, my job is not to be your cheerleader. My job is to get the best out of you, right? And I'm so happy that you're doing more. But I want the best for you, and I'm going to push you to do the best for you. My job is to encourage you and be like, I used to play soccer. And when we would do runs, he'd be like, that was a good run. He's like, but I know you can do better. If he just said, okay, good job, guys, good start, we wouldn't push ourselves to do what we know we can do and push ourselves beyond what we can do. That's my goal. And so, yeah, like Brianna's saying, she just one-on-one start to finish. I can't do more than 6 dogs a day. That's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. Doing one-on-one is way more exhausting. For me, mobile's great because then I get a change of scenery. That's very built how I'm built. But when you're doing dogs start to finish, there's no break. And it is meaning you've got to do that. You're doing everything very perfectly. I really honor that you are doing more. And you got to remember, guys, that's why I like the group thing, because Christy is your cheerleader. She's your friend. She's somebody who's going to help push you, but in a more cheerleader way. That's what the groups are for. If you guys are not a part of, if you're not in any of my groups, if you're not, even in Savvy Pet Professionals, my free group, if you're not in one of these groups, like the group mentorship or my masterclass groups, I think that's incredibly uplifting to be able to see other people's struggles and know that you're a part of this group, because it's happening everywhere in the industry. You're not the only one. I think everyone has to start somewhere. And I think that's it. It's building that confidence, right? And you're going to get there. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Christy's saying, as one-on-one, should we charge as mobile as? I think so. Absolutely. When a lot of you guys, remember, for work-life balance, how many dogs can you groom? Do you want to work 8 hours a day? How many days a week do you want to work? And how many hours do you want to work? If you want to work 5 hours over 4 days grooming, and then take another 5 to 10 hours, because how many hours a week are you guys doing office hours and things like that? Consider how many hours you're working as a groomer, and then how many hours you're working in your office, in your marketing, booking appointments, whatever it is. That's also why, guys, I suggest office hours. And they should be short. They should be extraordinarily short. Or get rid of them at all. Tiffany and I have been working on her business where she will either rebook you right after your appointment. Otherwise, you have to book online. She will not book you over the phone. She will not book you any of those ways. And we actually did in group mentoring, we worked on a script for her to be able to explain that to clients. And it really helped her. Coral saying, definitely bring up those prices. That's a niche and not everyone offers that. It's a specialty service or an express, which many places add an extra fee for. One-on-one grooming, a lot of times, unfortunately for you guys, you're not making enough money. Because if you had to move out of your home and rent a space, and that's where, guys, remember in the beginning of the price increase masterclass, we did, if you had to get a build out or had to replace that and look at the market rent, you'd have to add all that money in. And a space, realistically, it's going to be $1,000 to $3,000 a month. A build out, if you do it, is $20 or $30. If you have somebody else do it, it's going to be about $20,000 to $50,000. Or a mobile van is going to be $20,000 or $30,000 down, and then $1,500 a month. Think about that. And just because you groom in a home salon does not mean you charge less. Right? If anything, that's better than a lot of the grooming salons I've seen that are hellholes, right? That you walk in and you're wafted with that smell of like skunk or dog poop or pee or like wet shepherd, right? She's Brianna saying, I'm thankful for the support team of groomers I have, like Christy. I want to do 3 to 4 days a week and 3 to 4 dogs. So then that's what you need to charge. So you need to look at your price. And this is where, Brianna, I really suggest, because you're in the price increase class, go to our Thursday price increase spotlight questions and let's do that math. I want you to put a spotlight question in the group and go ahead and let's do that math for you in that group. We only have 10 minutes. So I want you to make sure you have your numbers, because that's what we did on week 2, right? We figured out how much you need to earn. So if you take week's 2 homework, we can really quickly guesstimate how much money you would need to make per day and how much per dog. Now, these will be round numbers and really vague numbers. They're not going to account for everything, but at least then we can get an ish, right? I honestly had no idea about that. I thought I has to charge less. So being a part of this has finally made me see that in my worth. Absolutely. And guys, remember, you all know I hate the phrase charge what you're worth. And the reason I hate it is, I always think of the, if you guys have, I'm a dork, so I love Moulin Rouge. Like, I'm an old romantic. And there's this scene where she says, you only ever, I have to get the exact quote, but basically, you only told me I was worth what people would pay for me. So, and being a prostitute. And I really don't want anyone to say that. Remember what your skill is worth, not you. You are priceless. You have intrinsic wealth. You have intrinsic value. Your skill's worth. And the reason I mention that is because if you have physical ailments, a lot of groomers that I have coached have had physical problems, Parkinson's. They have had, going blind. And when they can no longer groom, they feel like they have no personal worth. Because if we keep telling ourselves, I'm worth people paying me a lot of money for my grooming, if you ever can no longer groom, you may inadvertently have this total identity crisis. So be careful on that. Just as somebody who coaches a lot of people, just watch that. Coral is saying that dog gets your undivided attention. You are also in and out much faster than the time the owner wasn't waiting around all day. I think in Utah, you guys also we don't up north have a lot of these salons, but I see a lot of them down south, like in the Georgia, Florida area, where they literally drop the dog off at between 7 and 9 a.m. Everyone drops off. And then the dogs are literally there till 3 to 5 p.m. Not like doggy daycare, like in crates. And as a grooming practice, it's super easy. You can get the most amount of dogs done. But a lot of businesses are moving away from that. I mean, you're basically more like a dog hairdresser than you are a dog groomer, right? And there are, again, I'm a technician, guys. I'm very happy to be a technician. I am not an artist. And just so you know, Brianna, I charged $55.65 in a grooming salon with 5 employees. We did 40 dogs a day. The haircut dogs were there for 4 hours. We charged $55.65. And we did mediocre haircuts. I'm a mediocre dog groomer. I'm a fantastic cat groomer, mediocre dog groomer. So when you think about your prices, and by the way, that was about 6 to 8 years ago. And, again, let's pull up my inflation. Yeah, if I was charging on the high end, $65, that would be worth $78 today. Just to put that in perspective. If I had that grooming salon just to keep up with inflation, charging $65 a Shih Tzu, I would need to charge $78 now. And if I still had that shop, I would have gone up a minimum of $5 a year. And you figure that's 8 years. So yeah, we would have gone up 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. We'd probably be between $90 and $105 for a Shih Tzu, getting a probably 5 all over and a 1/2-inch round teddy bear face. Not much finished scissoring at all. 0 body scissoring. And just basically the tufts on the legs and making sure that nothing sticks out. And they would be 1 of 40 dogs that day. And my clients were super happy. And the dogs were happy. So it's not like it was a bad business. But it's definitely not as specialized as you are. My mother and my sister bought my mobile grooming business. They charge for mediocre dog grooms. They're fantastic people. They love the dogs. My sister's a decent groomer. Amy's a decent groomer. Nothing like you. And that's where, guys, when I say mediocre dog groomer, I don't mean a horrible dog groomer. When I think of a great groomer, I think of Brianna Glass, whose dogs are like glass. I mean, that's the best. I mean, if your business is not called something with glass in it, I don't know what you're doing for your branding. Because to me, when I saw your grooms, yeah, that groom is exactly like glass. You need tagline like that, girl. But just think of that. So they charge and they're mobile, so it's start to finish. They only do dogs under 20 pounds. They do not do any breed cuts. They do not do anything fancy. They charge $160 if you want a Shih Tzu and a 5/8 comb. Decent haircut. Nothing fancy. A decent haircut. And they're in an area where the average mobile charges $85. It has, and by the way, right now they're booked out about 6 weeks. Just to put that in perspective. And I had told them when they added, because it was feeling exclusive and they decided to add dogs, the reason they did that is because they knew they could hire badass groomers. Because if I said to you, you're going to, think about just the tips. We did the math. Their part-time groomer earned $2,000 just in tips. Part-time in 1 month. $2,000. $2,000 just in tips, because when you have that kind of clientele, they tip better, and it's amazing. So Coral said, we do one-on-one and we have a lot of high-level executive clientele, so it appeals to schedule work. We charge 90 minutes, $90 for a palm bath and tidy last week, and they pay it because we are, you're on timos. You have to figure out, and this is where in the price increase class, we talk all about this, guys. I cannot stress it enough. Yeah, exactly. Well, it is like, her grooms are, it's almost infuriating how good they are. They're beautiful. And I think that's art, and people will pay for art. Realistically, if they left you and they want that haircut, where are they going to go? Because if there are 1,000 groomers in the United States who can groom as well as you, I would be shocked. Christy's saying, chef's kiss to River for invaluable coaching. Off to our industry that every groomer needs to hear and learn. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. And people messaging me, don't mind me. Like, who's messaging me? Oh, I'll worry about them. I'll look at that later. I'm like, who wants me? Where am I? How am I? Now I'm all flustered because I got compliments, and I'm like, it's really weird too. Like when someone's like, oh, you're the Savvy Groomer. I'm like, yes, I am. Who are, I can't wait to see people's faces. Like, I feel like I talk to people, and most of you guys, for your profile picture, it's always like a dog, which I actually really love because I love seeing people's dogs and cats. I just love it. But anyway, this is what I'm talking about, guys. So, Brianna, who has an incredible talent, we can get her to work 3 to 4 days a week, doing 3 to 4 dogs a day, and make a livable wage. She doesn't need to work 5 days a week grooming 5 or 6 dogs. And even then, that sounds like, oh, it's not a lot of dogs, but it depends on the level of what you're doing. Coral's saying, if you've got clients traveling more than 30 minutes to you for the quality of your grooms, you can definitely charge more. I said, the market will bear whatever the market will bear. And I want to just point out one thing to you guys. If I groom 10 Shih Tzus at $50, if half my clientels leave and I charge $100, I will make the same amount of money, right? So guys, here's the math. 10 Shih Tzus, and a ring light, times $50, $500. Now, 10 Shih Tzus times, 5 Shih Tzus times $100. Because guess what? $500. So if you charge double and you lost half your clientele, you'd be fine. You'd be fine. And think about the work-life balance. I know. Erin is going to be coming to my retreat, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait. We're going to be doing... and for those of you guys that don't know, and I do have to go in a minute because I have to go into my next class, but we did a small business retreat this year. I'm super excited about it. I cannot wait to have groomer girl time, and it should be inclusive. We welcome men and women. It just tends to be a female-dominated industry. But we're going to be in Newport, which is my happy place. I cannot wait. And we're going to have 2 days of classes, and it's all whatever they want. If they literally just want to spend 2 days talking about their businesses and different ideas and whatever they need to do, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. And I love it because we're going to be able to spend time in the house. We're going to have wine. I know Erin's into breweries, so it's one of those things where she can actually go if she wants. There's tons of local breweries. It's in Newport, Rhode Island, so that means that we have, if you guys ever heard of the Gilded Age, or if you watched Downton Abbey, there's a lot of history there. mansions, and it's super. HBO right now is making a whole series on the Gilded Age. So these beautiful mansions you could check out for the history. It's got the beach. It's got fantastic food. I mean, anything you ever wanted. And there's just so much to do there. Parasailing, or just going on a sailboat. They have like the morning mimosa or the night champagne, or just during the day. It's even fun. And learning the history. Jackie Kennedy and John Kennedy were married in Newport, and Jackie Kennedy actually has like a summer home that she grew up in Newport. So it's really fun. It's a really fun place. And we're working on more business retreats. Maybe one in Florida for the winter. And then another one next year in July. I just love that. And I'm going to be in Atlanta, you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm really excited. I love interacting with everybody. I love spending time with you guys. It's really interesting because, I talk to people, I have an attorney friend now, and I have a few other people who, are in real industries, as they say it, in the most mansplaining of ways. And they say, why don't you just go to a better industry, which makes me crazy. And I said, because these are my people. So, well, you can make so much more doing this for real estate agents. You can make so much more doing this. You could do so much that. Well, these are my people. And I will fix my industry. I'm not leaving my industry for other people that can pay me more. These are my people, and I'm going to fix my industry. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm like, I'm going to dig down deep, and I'm going to help repair my industry. I can't think of anything more noble. Now I'm going to make a living doing it because I deserve to make a living. But, I love the saying, poor people can't feed starving kids. And once I become wealthy enough, I will be able to offer scholarships and more things for people who can't afford it. And also by creating more wealthy groomers, they will be able to help spread that and learn to help them. Beyond is saying, I'll be coming to your next one because I'll be rich enough to afford it. Hell yeah, you will. Here's the thing. I want everyone to be wealthy. There's nothing bad about being wealthy, guys. It's a positive. The more money you make, the more money you can give. The more money you have, the more people you can help. It's incredible how when I was poor living in my shop, how I really didn't have an opportunity to help anyone. And it wasn't until I was able to get myself out of poverty that I can now do that. And if I had not built a grooming business high enough prices, I would have never been able to start Savvy Groomer because I wouldn't have had time. And then having enough money as a nest egg to sell my mother my business so that she can pull herself out of poverty, right? And now I've helped her and by proxy, my sister out of poverty. Amy really doesn't need, our other groomer doesn't really need it. She's fine. She's great. But, they're going to hire more people, and they're going to hire groomers at livable wages, doing easy dogs. They're going to be able to groom longer. We're building packages for their employees where they get free massages and unlimited chiropractic care. The way you do that is charging enough. They're literally going to allow their part-time groomer gets 1 to 2 massages paid for a month. They get chiropractic care as much as they want. If their part-time groomer wants to go to the chiropractor 2 days a week, it doesn't matter. They can do that. And the way you do that is charging enough that you have enough meat on the bone to be able to do that. Coral says, hope I can make out one of the retreats next year once this baby born and our borders open up again. Yeah, Coral, I can't wait to see your baby. Love babies. Yeah, and I know our borders. I was supposed to go to a place in Canada. I was supposed to go to Australia. We'll see. I mean, when I was down in Newport, I won't lie. Like, everything was open. I went to a nightclub and I danced. Whoop, whoop. It was nice. I burned literally 600 calories in like 4 hours. It was fantastic. Definitely ate all of that. I'm going to eat more of it because I'm going to eat banana bread tomorrow. Super excited. But anyway, I digress, guys. So that is all about work-life balance. And it is, guys, it's so important. You charge enough so you can build this life you want. And then you can help other people and, whatever that is. And we talk about in the group, we talk about Tabitha Teach and Tess Thrive. Do you want to travel and just be a good parent? Or do you want to be a good wife or husband, whatever it is? Or maybe you want to teach people a skill set. My goal is to be able to have a community where we're teaching and we're changing our industry. But the only way I can do that is charging enough money that I can hire people. I just hired Quincy full-time. And that takes money. And I have to charge what my skills are worth in order to be able to convince her to come work for me full-time. And that's not easy because good people are not cheap to hire, and she's going to have to get yearly raises. So I don't want to lose her because she's amazing. And we're going to hopefully hire another full-time person by the end of the year. I don't know if we will. We'll see. And Jasmine's amazing. We have a video editor. We're going to be our goal is to be able to hopefully have more master classes, have more education, create more change. Okay? Our next master class is going to be a membership master class. And it's going to cost me $1,500 to $2,500 just to create the slide decks and everything. Because I'll be honest, I'm too busy to do that. So that's how things work, and you've got to delegate and you've got to learn to delegate. But that's a whole nother topic. So guys, that was today's topic. Like I said, if you guys are interested in signing up for our price increase masterclass, I'm sure Brianna, Christy, I believe, and now Tiffany's in it as well. If you want them to tell you more about it, I'm sure they're more than happy to give a testimonial. I know I shouldn't assume I would get a testimonial, but I know I have badass content, so I'm not afraid of asking for testimonials. Not afraid at all. Same as if you're a good groomer, you're not afraid to ask for people to, give you a review. In the meantime, if you're like, what did I just stumble upon? What is this? Hop into my free Facebook group, Savvy Pet Professionals, facebook.com/groups, Savvy Groomer. There you're going to be able to see different things. And we generally talk about it a little bit. And that's kind of the main thing. That's where I would really start with me is hop on YouTube, get in the group, get to know me, see if you are interested in any of our products. Like I said, the price increase class is on pre-sale. And right now, if you purchase, you get 3 hours free, which is like a $1,200 value, which is actually double what it is. Brianna's saying, yes, it's amazing. You definitely will be getting a badass testimonial from me. Oh, thank you. Do it. You won't regret it. My goal is to offer more of these master classes, guys. For me, it just seeing the change, seeing the aha moments really is my passion because and this is mine. I remember when I went from $35, $45 Shih Tzus and the math wasn't working. And I did everything the industry told me. I was trying to sell upsells and add-ons and I was good at it, but it always felt wrong to charge $10 for teeth brushing when I had a $35 Shih Tzu. I was like, this is nuts. And I cried every time I increased the price because I was so afraid I was going to lose my people. And so everything I learned the hard way, I bring to the table. And I don't want you to have to learn the hard way. I want you to learn from my pain and my mistakes and all the coaching clients I've dealt with. And I want to make it easier for you. And I also love the community. And then, Brianna, Christy, I know Tiffany's already in our group mentoring. After the class is over, the Facebook group does close. But that's where we suggest you hop over to our group mentoring. That will be open the end of June, early July. It is only open for 3 to 5 days a month. That way everyone can come in at the same time. And that's where we get our weekly spotlight questions. We're there to support you and grow you. And that's really what I want to focus my business on. I love the one-on-one, but if I can only do 10 one-on-one clients, and that takes up more than half of my schedule, I would rather figure out a way to do more group stuff. That way I can make it more affordable for you guys. And as a bonus, you get those communities. And to me, that's invaluable. Having a strong community of like-minded groomers is invaluable. I cannot tell you how frustrating and exhausting it is to be surrounded by people who say you can't do it. And now I say I already did, that's where I used to really identify with cat groomers, because they say you can't own a feline exclusive business. I said, well, not only did I own a feline exclusive business, I was also mobile. I also required everyone a 4-week schedule, and I charged a minimum of $100. So, whenever someone says you can't, I want you to say, watch me. And then say, ta-da. And you're going to be happier for it. Again, Brianna, if half your clientele leaves and you charge double, everyone else is gravy. So don't be afraid. All right, guys, I have to love you and leave you. I'm already super late for Personal Finance Unleashed. They're going to kill me. And if you don't know what Personal Finance Unleashes, that is our 12-week course teaching you personal finance and how to actually once you get all that money, Brianna, Personal Finance Unleashed is going to teach you what to do with it and how to start growing an emergency fund, getting out of debt. And that is really one of my biggest heart projects. I don't make a lot of money doing it, but it's good for my soul. And that's what's important. All right, guys. Happy grooming as always. Take it easy. Happy grooming.